Hello everyone and welcome back. This is the final game of what has been an outstanding opening weekend in the 25-26 Slater Gordon Premiership, with all live coverage this season powered by MK Battery. It's been 2 days packed with top-class Powerchair Football goals, drama and quality right across the board. The absolute perfect way to start the new season. Earlier today we saw Leeds edge out Middlesbrough 2-1 before falling to Greenbank in a tight 1-0 contest. Aspire were dominant once again, putting 5 past West Bromwich Albion and Throssels, while Teesside kept their perfect start going with a hard-fought 1-0 win over Villa Rockets. Elsewhere, West Bromwich Albion hit 6 against Muscle Warriors, and Newcastle United Foundation maintained their unbeaten run with another narrow victory. And now, to close out the weekend, we've saved the best till last. A blockbuster meeting between two genuine title contenders, Teesside and Aspire. Teesside, the reigning champions, have started exactly as they finished last season. Controlled, clinical and full of belief. 3 wins from 3, 14 goals scored and not a single one conceded. Aspire, meanwhile, have been equally as impressive, unbeaten so far, scoring 13 and conceding none across their opening 3 matches. 2 unbeaten sides, both yet to concede, both looking to maintain an early statement in the title race. This is what it's all about. My name's Ryan Sipple. I'm delighted to be joined on commentary once again by Charlie McClellan. Charlie, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Looking forward to this. Feels like a lot of the build-up this weekend has been around this match. People talking to me about it since early yesterday morning. Last season, this was such a pivotal fixture in that title race, in terms of just the dominance of Teesside in those 2 games. Just really gave them the confidence to go on and claim that title. And Aspire this season will be hoping that they don't see a repeat of that history.
Yeah, I agree. Thumbs up from Jordan Williams, thumbs up from Alistair Hay, and Jeff Lewis, our central referee, gets ready to blow the whistle to get proceedings underway. Whoever ends this game on top, should it end in a win for either one of them, they will conclude Gameweek 1 top of the table, king of the hill. Aspire have played a game more than their North East rivals, but that won't matter a great deal. I think you could say Aspire have had a much tougher start to this season than that of Teesside. We'll go through the results from yesterday and today as Dan McClellan pushes it across the box, diagonally splitting through the Teesside area. John Dixon was there to capitalise. Warning signs for Teesside.
Yeah, good early pressure from Aspire, really trying to keep them in. This is the issue with the way Teesside do their goal kicks, is because they only have 2 outfield players, because obviously the middleman takes them, they can come under from early pressure.
This is good stuff from Aspire, no doubt taking the confidence from that 5-0 thrashing of West Bromwich Albion and Throssels. Look at the high press. John Boulding orchestrating from the centre.
Yeah, they were too passive in both of the fixtures against Teesside last season. I think they've realised that. They just allowed themselves to be played around and gave away set pieces in awkward situations, and they'll be trying not to do that. It was very much mistakes from Aspire's part that gave Teesside a lot of their goals.
Yeah, having spoken to John Boulding on the podcast, he said he was almost a little bit naive in how he approached games and thought that their quality would be enough to just blow any and all opposition away, when that's not necessarily the reality. When the talent in this division is packed to the brim, you have to respect the opponents firstly, and then you have to manage games. You have to attack at certain moments, adopt particular tactics to nullify the opposition. But in the first 2 minutes, a lot to be positive about if you're affiliated to Aspire. Teesside haven't been tested this weekend, and I think that's where Aspire's tough run will favour them more. Teesside with games against GBG Knights, Throssels and earlier today against Villa. With all due respect to those opponents, none of them are in the conversation for potential titles, so will that play into the momentum of Aspire? We shall see.
Yeah, it's a nervy start to this game.
Trapped by Ed Common. First time they've had a foothold in that Aspire half.
Yeah, already defending differently against these Teesside kicks last season. John Boulding sort of kept his wingers high and wide and tried to do it himself. Dan McLaren, you can see there, back digging in defensively.
Yeah, absolutely. John Boulding picks the pocket of Tyler Eve and just pushes his chair, takes Tyler Eve completely out the game. You can tell that Aspire are up for this challenge.
Yeah, that's a good start from Aspire. They've got a free kick in a really dangerous area.
Looks like it'll be taken by Dan McClellan, who just ushers John Boulding over. This 5 metres is laid out by Jeff Lewis. John Boulding behind Ed Common, who's desperately trying to get a position cleared by Tyler Reeve. No real danger. Not quite sure what the intent was there from Aspire, as there's some contact off the ball. No malice. I don't think John Boulding was aware of Ed Common's placement. It's going to be getting a telling off nonetheless.
There's a massive gap in the Teesside defence. I think that's what Dan McClellan was trying to exploit there.
Anyone that watched Teesside's earlier victory over Villa will know that they weathered a fairly relentless storm in the first 5-10 minutes. Villa should have gone 1-0 up via Rosie Hodgson. So it shows they just need a little time to maybe settle into the intense games. So they'll desperately trying to ensure Aspire don't capitalise. Further context for both of these oppositions is squad selection. So Teesside without any substitutes. The 4 that start this game are going to need to be the 4 that secure any points. Dylan Pearson and Greg Baxter unavailable, and Aspire without their predominant goalkeeper Tom Kelly, who sadly had to miss today due to illness. So Jordan Williams has been drafted in. A big job for him. It's a mistake from John Boulding. Gives possession to Mitch Tinkler, and Jordan Williams is going to be called into defensive duties for the first time this fixture. Boulding back desperately. He will not want to concede following that misplaced pass. You said earlier, Charlie, that the success that Teesside had last season was mistakes. So they won't want that to be a repeat here.
Yeah, they definitely won't. It was, you know, giving away set pieces at silly times, and I mean, I think they even conceded a dribble goal, which is very poor for a team of Aspire's quality. They just need to be super composed and just concentrate for all 40 minutes of this match.
To John Dixon, the league's current 2 top goal scorers, Dan McClellan and Mitch Tinkler, both on 8 goals apiece. Incredible accumulation in game week 1. Both will have their eyes on that eventual prize, but I'm sure both would trade any individual accolades for that wider team achievement. It's Tyler Reeve, dead central into Jordan Williams. Switch of play, didn't have the angle to reach John Dixon. You can see the intent of John Boulding. And Teesside are doing a good job just occupying those channels, those passing lanes to either Dan McClellan or John Dixon.
Yeah, doing a very good job. Just stopping that ball getting wide, and if that ball does get wide, then they switch and they stop that ball from getting back to John Boulding. Trying to trap Aspire in certain areas of the court. They'll know how dangerous Aspire can be from wide areas. Weirdly, Throssell's earlier just let Aspire have loads of territory out wide and basically left Dan McClellan and John Dixon unmarked, and they were just absolutely torn to shreds by the power that the wingers were generating for Aspire. Wouldn't expect Teesside to be as naive in this one.
It certainly is a sight to see when they get that power going. As John Dixon capitalises on Ed Common letting that go. He just was reluctant to engage it. I don't think he was overly aware of John Dixon's placement. I know it was a miss-hit, but it's a rare error from such an established, accomplished player. And that's a let-off for Teesside.
Yeah, it is.
Into John Boulding, just pushes it into the Teesside box. Strong play. I love the fact that in England those sort of interactions are allowed to continue. We've seen different interpretations at various competitions where, had that been in the Club World Cup, that would almost certainly have been not just a foul but potentially a yellow card.
It's so refreshing to watch and just see that top players are allowed to actually battle, and like, there was no malice in any of that, and
no appeals is the important
yeah.
thing. They want to battle away, give everything to the cause. It's been beautifully facilitated by Jeff Lewis. Tyler Reeve now trying to bypass John Dixon, which he does so. John Boulding across. 2-on-1 surely. Jeff Lewis trying to play advantage. It's a difficult one for John Dixon. He kind of has to cover that option of Ed Common, but John Boulding desperately across to cover.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad pick-off from John Dixon. The issue was Boulding was already in that area, having just come out of a battle.
Reeve into Dan McClellan. Just flicks it off Dan McClellan's bumper. It's the right decision from the officials. One thing I'd love to do, and I think it would be fairly achievable in Powerchair Football, is to put something on the chairs which covers, which calculates distance covered. You look how much ground John Boulding covers in any given game. It's remarkable. Certainly in the games when they're more competitive, when he has to be that real defender and that real attacker, composer in the centre. He is everywhere in this game. Ricochets into Alistair Hay, who is a very conservative goalkeeper. Will just opt to control and wait for Ed Common to come back and support defensively. Different interpretations of that role, depending on which team you're referencing. Some like to be brave, push it out of danger. Some will just opt to control. Jordan Williams into John Boulding.
Yeah, Jordan Williams had a great starting position there, so he could pick it off with relative ease. Well done by John Dixon just to nick in and win that kick in. Little rhyme.
Dixon in this corner, just out of shot. Into the box, doesn't get timing and/or connection, so Ed Common traps it between himself and his international teammate John Boulding. Needed that touch off the back wheel. 180 lined up from John Boulding. Secondary effort trying to locate down McClellan. It's a cagey game, but you can see the quality.
Much more open than like the Greenbank Leeds game or the West Brom Aspire game yesterday. Both sides going for it a lot more.
I think when you have two teams that are trying to win, it facilitates open football. When you've got one sitting back, being conservative, trying to negate the quality of the opposition, that's when they tend to lock each other up. But I think both of them, whilst respecting one another, think and they should or could get the 3 points. And that plays into bravery, that plays into their decision making and more. Into John Bolden. Dan McClellan over to take. If you look at any of the 8 players, they're constantly moving back and forth. No one is sitting still and just merely observing this game. All of them are making sure that they're ready. They're anticipating potential ricochets and balls over.
Yeah, and this was the thing. I spoke to Colin Gordon about West Brom and how they weren't quite scoring goals, and he said that he feels like his wingers, he wants them moving all the time, and that is what this game has been like so far.
Strong battle for the ball there, and contact from John Bolden. Advantage was initially played by Jeff Lewis. It's the right decision despite the appeals. It was a 50-50 coming together, which ended with the Aspire captain just crunching into the back wheels of Tyler Reeve. It's good officiating.
I think John Bolden felt, because he was on the inside closer to the ball, that it was him, but yeah, it was definitely Tyler Reeve. Just got a couple of inches on him and was ahead.
Now McClellan hasn't been able to impart his quality to the level we've come to expect. John Dixon set away. Dan McClellan desperately trying to make up ground. I would like to have seen John Dixon be more selfish there. There was no clear options. The teammates were surrounded by blue shirts. So maybe he could have tested Alistair Hay or played off the goalkeeper rebound. Either way, Aspire, certainly in an attacking sense, the better of the two teams.
Yeah, they want to capitalise on this half, Aspire.
It's Tyler Reeve that time deemed the aggressor. Miss, a good opportunity. 15.5 minutes in, Teesside nil, Aspire nil.
I think it was just when you get in reverse and you make contact, it's always going to be given. It's the easiest one for referees to give.
I think Jeff Lewis is doing an absolutely incredible job letting the football flow, but being consistent with his decision making. That's John Bolden. Look at the Teesside players, they're always edging back and forth. It's going to go into John Dixon. That's disappointing, it just didn't have the angle, and they're going to have to absorb a little bit of pressure now. Those fine margins are going to be the difference come not just the conclusion of the game but the season. Again, a little bit of miscommunication, disorganisation in the Aspire ranks. Gives Teesside a 2-on-1. At the conclusion of this set of games on Court A and Court B, we'll be running the Team of the Weekend, Fantasy Team of the Weekend, Unsung Hero and Standout Player of the Weekend awards, all proudly sponsored by Swizzles. Cast your vote and who's been the top performers.
Yeah, loads of 2-on-1s in this game, particularly from Aspire.
All the way back to John Bolden as the most defensive of the 4 Aspire players. Rare territory in the final third for Teesside. Can they make it count? They're so good at set pieces. Final couple of minutes. Jordan Williams into Dan McClellan. Across to John Bolden, beautifully feints to take Ed Common out. Front bumper pick off, finds Bolden via John Dixon. Trying to get their passing go, which is really good to see. Very important role that Tyler Reeve has to just read, anticipate and intercept. He's just got goal side of John Bolden, so he has to readjust. Down the line. And on the follow through, catches Tyler Reeve. They've had several bits of contact with one another. I suspect that is how it continues. Jeff Lewis will be forced to look to his book at some point. He escapes without punishment on that occasion, which I agree with.
Yeah, this is a big chance for Teesside, this.
I think Mitch Tinkler's going to be the option. Ed Common typically always acts as that screen. He shapes to attack the ball, which draws those two Aspire defenders towards him, and then Mitch Tinkler unopposed at the back post. That's certainly how a lot of their goals have come. But this time, Ed Common attacks it at the first time of asking. Brilliant save from John Bolden. So calm, so collected in preventing Common from opening the scoring. It's good work.
Good reactions from John Bolden. I think what a lot of players do in situations like that is, which causes them to concede a lot more than anything, is just panic. If you just stay calm and don't panic, the only reason the gap would open up is because the player jumps early or they lose their composure. As long as you stay calm when defending those kind of set pieces, generally you'll be okay.
I also don't disagree with the assessment. That is a lot easier said than done.
Oh, of course.
And when we're talking about one of the best players the sport has ever produced in John Bolden, it's almost a formality. But I'm sure other aspiring players can emulate or try to, at the very least. It's even more impressive when you probably associate the nerves with this fixture. I think these 8 players particularly are well seasoned with competitive fixtures. And that signals the end of the first half. It's been tense, it's been tactical, you would say. On reflection, Aspire the better of the two teams, but Teesside well organised.
Yeah, I think I agree with that assessment. Aspire definitely started very quickly. They came flying out of the blocks, and Teesside have grown into it. You can tell what they're trying to do. They're playing for those set pieces in high areas. That's their real strength, their forte, and they score a lot of goals from those situations in any game, and especially in these big ones. So you can see what they're trying to do. Aspire will be looking to open the play up. The opportunities for them to pass and make good moves have been there. They just need to be more accurate and more decisive with their actions. But I think, on balance, both sides will be pleased and both sides will fully back themselves to go on and win this game.
Completely agree. Thank you to all that tuning in. To myself and Charlie will be back very shortly for the second half. Hello everyone and welcome back. Second half in this clash of the Powerchair Titans. Teesside versus Aspire. Nothing to separate them after 20 minutes. Will we get a winner after 20 more? My name is Ryan Sipple. Delighted to be joined on commentary once again by Charlie McClellan. Give me your assessment from that first half, please.
Yeah, I thought it was relatively even. I think, if anything, Aspire edged it, but I thought it was exactly what I was expecting. Entertaining, end-to-end. It's going to be a great second half if that first half is anything to go by.
Thumbs up from Jordan Williams. Thumbs up from Alistair Hay, and Jeff Lewis blows his whistle to get proceedings underway. As you would probably suspect, with the margins so fine, the team's unchanged from that finished the first half as Dan McClellan set away, connects with the 180. Alistair Hay has to save. John Dixon on the follow-up effort. Teesside have Alistair Hay, Tyler Reeve, Ed Common and Mitch Tinkler. Aspire, Jordan Williams, John Bouldin, Dan McClellan and John Dixon.
I would like to see John Dixon maybe, I know he was trying to get that ball back towards goal, but I would like to maybe see him use the front bumper to put it back towards John Boulding and get their triangle passing out around the penalty area. It's a great little touch from Dan McClellan to get around Mitch Tinkler, the two top goal scorers in the league.
Mitch Tinkler doesn't engage. I think we've spoken on several occasions about the fairly meteoric rise of John Dixon and his game. I think this is where you want to see him really impose that quality when you're against another title contender.
Yeah, I think obviously he showed it in some big moments. In the cup final, for example, I thought was one of his best games. But yeah, in a game like this against Teesside, you want to see him being deadly at that back post and causing them all sorts of problems.
I think with that one against West Brom in the cup final, I would have had Aspire as the favourites going into it, disregarding what happened in Paris. So when I say I want to see John Dixon perform in the games, it's when they're almost the underdogs, or they're 50-50 competitors rather than favourites to win a game. I think, if I recall, one of Dan McClellan's top performances, announcing himself on the international stage or the continental stage was against a West Brom, one of those fixtures against West Brom, those famous matchups. He scored the winner, I believe, and from that point on his Powerchair football career has just skyrocketed. Just needs a moment like that for John Dixon to be the catalyst to then put him in those conversations for England development squad or even beyond.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a goal for him or an assist in this game would be massive.
Likewise with Mitch Tinkler. Produced the moments last season, but if he wants to be in those England conversations, this is when he's going to have to perform, when I've no doubt Adam McAvoy, Craig Peaty and others are tuning in and watching very closely to assess player suitability for that esteemed senior squad. Teesside look a little bit more structured in this second. Ed Common playing more of a central role than he did in the first half. This is a familiar battle.
Very much so. Teammates at England, obviously. Tyler often plays the understudy role to John.
Across the box, all the way to Mitch Tinkler. 2-on-1 signalled by Jeff Lewis. The advantage was played brilliantly. Irrelevant of that, Teesside will get the indirect free kick, and this is where we might see one of those experimental, innovative set pieces. They've tried the boom bill on occasions. Nothing's really come off for them, and this is very central. Sometimes you like to have a little bit of angle to these free kicks, but they are locked in conversation with one another as to how to best engage it. It looks like maybe a boom attempt. Tyler Reeve into the rotation of a common. Dan McClellan has to observe 5 metres, which he's been told now. No, for some reason, they attempt that boom when the whistle had not been blown and Jeff Lewis was engaged in conversation with Dan McClellan. Now I'm intrigued to see how they approach this, because they've given up the game plan. They've showed Aspire what they want to do with this, and now I'd like to see them switch it up and change it.
We've just spent, I don't know, we've just spent 45 seconds trying to get Dan to move back like 3 inches.
He's a competitor. He never wants to yield. And it looks as if they're shaping up for that boomer, but on this occasion, Mitch Tinkler is presenting as an option in the box. And they go. That's what I like to see. They tried the boom. Were fortunate that it didn't come off and the whistle hadn't been blown. And just for that unpredictability, switch it up when Aspire are maybe thinking you're going to try it again. Teesside much brighter, much more attacking intent in this second half, asking questions of the Aspire defence. John Dixon catches up to it across the face of goal, blocked by Tyler Reeve. I'd like to have seen Alistair Hay be a little bit braver there, trying to close the gap. It would have been a disappointing goal for them to concede as Mitch Tinkler just swipes into the side of John Baldwin. Advantage played by Jeff Lewis, eventually brought back.
Yeah, that was a great strike from John Dixon across. It sort of came out of nowhere a bit, and a good save on the line as well. One of the biggest chances that we've had so far in this second half.
Baldwin through the gap to John Dixon. There is a gap there, so the ball trapped between Alistair Hay and Tyler Reeve. John Dixon is knocking on the door. Can he dribble it over the line? No goal, despite it going over. Strong appeals from John Baldwin. Jeff Lewis deems the ball wasn't rolling, but he's going to bring his officials over to communicate with one another. I don't suspect it will be a goal.
I don't know if John Dixon did just enough at the last minute.
It's hard to tell from our angle. We're courtside, the other end of the court. This could be a goal.
This would be a massive goal.
It wouldn't surprise me. I've watched it back. The ball does look like it's rolling.
Goal given! So it's a massive goal for Aspire. John Dixon gets it. Well, you said he needed that moment to introduce himself on the big stage. Well, there you are, John Dixon. Welcome to the big stage, my son.
Yeah, absolutely. A huge goal for him and Aspire. How significant could that be in the wider context? It's good communication from the referees to just, I think you've spoken about taking a few seconds before you make the decision, communicating with the wider team. And Teesside now have to chase this game. How will they react?
Yeah, this is big, and obviously the more they commit as well, Aspire is devastating on the counter-attack. They're a really good counter-attacking side, and so they will have chances, you'd suspect, in these final 12 minutes to make it more than one.
Into the 180 of Dan McClellan, opts to dribble it round, out for a goal kick. I don't know whether Teesside have been conservative by design, just absorbing pressure and then them looking for the counter-attacking success, but they've been penned in here. Huge moment for John Dixon.
So on the replay, did it roll in?
It's hard to tell from the angle of the camera even, because there's players this side of the ball, but it's certainly rolling when it goes over to the left, when it's past the post.
This is a great battle between two of England's best wingers. Didn't get to play together in the same side at the for Nations Cup, but we're both part of that squad. Often substituted for each other, actually, including in the final. Yeah, this is a big 10 minutes now for Aspire. This would be a statement result, especially considering last season how far behind Teesside it seemed they were.
Nice control from John Dixon. Strange decision that, to drive round the ball. I'd like to have seen him just wrap his chair and push it into that top corner, manage it.
He already just looks so much more confident though. Like in the last couple of minutes, the ball contact he's been making is so much cleaner. It's been much more decisive.
I think that's the case with a lot of players. The potential is there, but it needs the confidence to facilitate that potential coming out, and that's exactly what's happened with John Dixon. Said it on the podcast, he's always been a solid, reliable player, but now he's a game changer. Now he influences results and trophies, and it must please John Baldwin so much to know that he's got such a reliable presence now on the wings. And I wonder if he can emulate and replicate that with Rich George. Seen really positive contributions from him as Dan McClellan can't catch up to it. Yeah, can Rich George almost emulate what we've seen from John Dixon over the next 12, 18 months? If he does even half of that, they've got another incredible option out wide. It's John Baldwin now. I think he's going to just manage this game, not risk a great deal going forward. Doesn't have to be pretty.
Something that's making me laugh in this game, John Baldwin keeps appealing for stuff really vigorously, and then as soon as the ref says no, you're not having it, he starts laughing, and Jeff Lewis can't do anything but laugh, because it's like, that's just the charm of John Baldwin, isn't it?
He appeals everything. A few players do it, and it does bring a smile to my face.
I think Kyle Alexander at Sevenoaks is the worst for it. I mean, I know they were on the end of a decently contentious decision earlier, but it's fantastic. Every kick in, every goal kick is appealed.
This is where we see the sign of champions. Can they reverse this scoreline? Even a draw would register a good result for Teesside.
Dan absolutely smashes past Ed Common there, out on the right wing. It's just so physical, this game, but in all the best ways kind of physical. Every single battle is so hotly contested.
Again, I want to commend the officiating of
Jeff
this
Lewis
one.
has been brilliant, absolutely brilliant in this game. Like the dribble goal, it's one of those where it's so hard to tell. Does it roll? Because it literally all it has to do is roll for like a second, less than a second.
He brought together his assistants, and within 5-10 seconds they'd made the decision, and that's exactly what you need to do. If you're unsure about something, you consult the two people that are there to aid you in your decision making. There wasn't a great deal of appeals from Teesside, so they probably knew the writing was on the wall. A strong battle goes the favour of John Baldwin and Aspire as we tick over into 33 minutes. It's about management now for Aspire. Will we see Teesside commit more players forward? Something we have seen across the weekend, more so when they're from a position of strength, when they've got a 3, 4, 5 goal advantage, is Tyler Reeve putting that goalkeeper jersey on, and Alistair Hay moving out wide. It's nearly followed up. Tyler Reeve with the secondary effort. Ed Common acting as that screen, as he so often does, but Tyler Reeve just unsure how to best engage that, and that hesitation led to that shot going wide of the left upright.
Yeah, it was a great ball across from Mitch Tinkler. Great patience as well, because he could have snatched at a shot earlier in that move. He just dragged that ball wide and took it with him. And Ed Common, yeah, it's fantastic. It was definitely intentional. Yeah, Tyler just caught in two minds, and you just can't hesitate in a game like this. Just have to do.
He went for the full rotation. I think just the side swipe would have yielded greater success. He wouldn't have been able to generate nearly as much power, but he would have asked questions of Jordan Williams, who's been relatively untested in this game. If you're Teesside, looking at the fact that Tom Kelly's absent, you probably say to yourself, we need to test Jordan Williams playing in an unfamiliar role, unfamiliar position. Can you exploit? Can you capitalise? They just haven't done that in the 34.5 minutes we've played, but this is the business end of the game. This is when all of Aspire's hard work could come unstuck if they lapse in concentration for more than a millisecond. Ed Common, clearly the option, goes into a very congested box, controlled well by Mitch Tinkler, the 24-25 young player of the season. Nice feint from John Boulding. I think Tyler Reeve was expecting a pass to Dan McClellan. Through on goal, Alistair Hay called into defensive duties.
You can just hear the shouts from Dan McClellan, keep it there, keep it there. It's a great area for Aspire to have the ball at this point in the game.
Just to frustrate and suffocate them deep in their own half. To Dan McClellan, met by Tyler Reeve, flicked back to John Boulding, 180. You can see what he's trying to do. He had the accuracy, but Tyler Reeve cut it out just in time.
Yeah, well done that by John Boulding, and Tyler Reeve had to be aware. Don't want to jinx it, but this has been a vintage John Boulding performance as well. We spoke about Marcus Harrison earlier, but this has been dominant from the England captain.
The conversations around Gameweek One have centred around John Boulding and the disappointment of the Epsom Nations Cup, and how he received a lot of criticism, and how he was going to try and channel that, use that to motivate him and his performances. And he seems hungry, even at what, is he 38 years of age? Still as determined as ever to win. That mentality is what separates him from 99.9% of the players in this sport. Chance here for Mitch Tinkler. Slightly forced towards goal. Ed Common with the follow-up pressure. Jordan Williams, good interception, just to angle it out of danger. It's still live. Mitch Tinkler unable to connect on the 180. Less than 3 minutes remaining. Or was that the last real opportunity to find an equaliser? Strong play. Good advantage played by Jeff Lewis.
I think that's the side of Dan's game that's improved the most in the last year, is that dribbling. So physical now.
Yeah. John Boulding, just off of Tyler Reeve, just shakes his head in frustration as we are fast approaching the final minute. Into Dan McClellan, who's just going to lock it up, sensibly so.
He's just going to try and manage this game.
Based on the high bar that Teesside set yesterday, they just haven't hit those same heights today. They struggled against Villa and just haven't really created against Teesside, against Aspire here. Final minute. Who's your player of the match, Charlie?
I mean, the match-winning moment was John Dixon's goal, but for a lot of the game he has been isolated. I think this is a John Boulding masterclass, this game. He has won so many dribbles, so many duels. I think that central partnership, it's sort of been the dribbling has been Tyler and Ed versus Dan and John, and those two have come out on top. Dan and John, especially JB, has just been top quality. He's still got it. He spoke about facing up to criticism in recent weeks, and
how better to silence the critics.
This is the way to do it. People can either bite back and they can nibble on the critics and get all aggy, or they can just do what John Boulding's doing and just go out on the court and say, fair enough, you criticised me, let's see where you are when at the end of the season. And that's what he's doing, and yeah, fair play to him. It's been a quality performance.
Final 10 seconds. This is surely it. Can Ed Common mastermind something from this kick-in? Into the box, Mitch Tinkler. It's read by John Boulding brilliantly. Arguably a 2-on-1. As Boulding quickly pounces on that ball. We tick over into additional time. Jeff Lewis glances at his watch. Boulding into McClellan. That's disappointing for Teesside. They just can't get a foothold, can't get possession of it. Pushed into the path of Alistair Hay, and Dan McClellan, with no pressure really, is just going to trap it in that top right-hand corner.
Alistair Hay did exactly what Dan McClellan wanted him to do there, and just tap the ball back against him.
A really good performance from Aspire, who have just sat back slightly since that opener. You can understand why. Now a minute and a half over, but Dan McClellan trapping it in the half, and Aspire are victorious. A fantastic performance which sees them go game week 1 unbeaten, 4 games won, 1 game drawn. I'll show you the live league table just so you can see how it influences things. Newcastle victorious on court A as well, so they match them at the top with 13 points from 5 games. Teesside do have that game in hand, as do Greenbank, who can match the teams above them, but you can see there's 2, maybe 3 distinctive packs in this division. You've got title contenders and you've got teams desperately trying to avoid relegation. A huge thank you to everyone that's tuned in across game week 1 of the 25-26 Slater and Gordon Premiership. Next in the calendar, game week 2 of the Championship. Thank you all.